All right, can you believe it? This is the third annual Fans First Sports Network mock draft from their contributors, and I am so excited. We have grown this year. This is my third year together with K.T.Smith. KT, how you doing?
I can't get over that intro music. I'm just that took me right back to the club scene in Philadelphia in the 1990s, Bryan.
Yeah, I can see you doing the Night of the Roxbury there, KT Smith.
Oh, my goodness gracious. That was a good time.
I knew you would like it. The outros even better. We also have our good friend, Nick Hogan here. Nick is one of my new partners who we've been a year together now doing the Fans First football show and for the Fans First Sports Network's NFL affiliate. Hogan, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm ready to rock and roll, talk some football, and get this draft going.
Yes, let's do it. So now Hogan is with Foxborough Frenzy here on the Fans First Sports Network. K.T.Smith, as you know, is my partner on Here We Go, the Steelers show. He is also the host of the Call Sheet Daily and the Call Sheet and the Whip Around, a co-host as well on that show, and so much more. One of our main voices here on the Fans First Sports Network. And Kevin, I was thinking about this today. This was the very first show on the NFL affiliate to be aired, because the Call Sheet came a couple weeks later in 2023, and this was our first go at it. And that year, we did the draft. We didn't know what we were doing. It took me 8 hours to edit everything and make it perfect. This year, I expect no edits whatsoever and just go. So we are going to go ahead and lay out the draft based on who your contributors here at the Fans First Sports Network went ahead and picked for their team. Now, in some cases, we had to jump in and take care of some other teams here as well. But most of our affiliates came in and covered the draft, and we're ready to do it. Fellas, are you excited for this draft?
Let's go, man. Kick it off.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. All right, the first pick of the Fans First Sports Network contributor draft is the Tennessee Titans. And Kevin Smith, the Titans select, no surprise, Cam Ward from the University of Miami. Rock you like a hurricane, KT.
Yeah, that's not a well-kept secret right now. And Tennessee's gone so far as to essentially, or went so far, I should say, is to cancel visits with other quarterbacks. I mean, Cam Ward's a great story. He started at Incarnate Word. I mean, if you are playing at Incarnate Word, you're probably not banking on being the number one overall pick in the draft at some point. But that's his path there to Washington State to Miami. He really had a tremendous last season, and he separated himself from that quarterback pack. I guess my only question about Cam Ward would be, given all the systems that he's played in, is that a benefit or is that a hindrance to him? Has that given him tremendous experience with a bunch of different languages and concepts, or is he not yet there or where he needs to be, given the fact he's probably going to be a day one starter in Tennessee with any of it?
Hogan, what are your thoughts here?
Cam Ward is a fascinating prospect where he brings a lot of intangibles from his playing days in college. Obviously, we know the numbers he put up with Miami and the other schools that Kevin talked about where he went. But at the same time, he comes into a loaded, interesting roster with Tennessee where Will Levis is there right now. He has the rapport with some of those guys. It's going to be interesting to see how much of a leash Will is going to have as opposed to Cam coming in, like you said, starting day one with the likes of Calvin Ridley and some of those other guys there. So it's not a bad pick overall, but we'll see how it turns out in the NFL.
Yeah, and this is a guy and a team that there's a lot of questions about both. And this team has had a lot of first-round quarterbacks in the last couple years. Well, actually, they really haven't. They've had second-round and third-round quarterbacks when you're talking Will Levis and Malik Willis. They keep trying to look for that number one guy, and we'll see if they go ahead and make this work once again. But our thanks to Jimmy Morris of the Fans First Sports Network and of Home Run Throwback for going ahead and taking that first pick. Let's go ahead and go back to the draft. It is time, my friends, for number 2. All right, the Cleveland Browns are on the clock. John Suchan making this pick for the Fanatical Elves here on the Fans First Sports Network. Hogan, it's no shock here, or is it a shock? But they're adding to that jersey, quarterback Shedeur Sanders, University of Colorado.
Yeah, this is no surprise, obviously, with him coming out of Colorado, the history he's had there with his dad coaching him. I mean, that's a real interesting question, right? Is Cleveland getting Shedeur and Dion, or are they just getting Shedeur? But we'll wait to see what happens there. But Shedeur, everybody's seen the tape on him. They know the numbers he can put up. Obviously, a big part of that was passing to his buddy there, Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter, who we're going to hear about a little bit later on, obviously. But Shedeur obviously is his own player in his own right, where he can run, he can pass, he can do all the things that Cleveland needs him to do. The big question is going to be, is Cleveland going to see a guy that can be the face of the franchise, that can take them from the slumps right now back to the promised land, where they've gone through this kind of carousel before with your Johnny Manziels, your Brandon Whedons, your Baker Mayfields. They always try and take a guy in the first round. It hasn't worked out yet. Shedeur might be the guy to break that. We'll have to see what happens.
K.T.Smith, as a Steeler fan, you're loving this pick. You wanted Shedeur to go to Cleveland, didn't you?
Well, I think that there's a lot of reasons as to why that they would take him. I wonder if Shedeur Sanders wants to be in Cleveland. I mean, this is a guy who likes the spotlight, and this is a guy who thrives in high-profile situations. You got an opportunity for him to maybe go to New York or maybe Vegas, or a bigger market with a higher profile. And it'll be interesting. Would Shedeur Sanders be resistant in any way, shape, or form? I don't think he'd hold out, but is Cleveland a good situation for him? That's something the Browns are going to have to take into serious consideration if they're going to make this pick. I like him as a football player. I think he does a lot of things well. I think he's more of a pocket guy than most people think. I don't think he's a guy you design runs for. He can move out of the pocket. He can extend plays, but I think he's a fairly accomplished pocket passer. I think his maturity as a quarterback will surprise some people. They got to get the ball out of his hand faster. He takes too many sacks. But Kevin Stefanski can work wonders with quarterbacks. He's won games with about 5 or 6 different QBs over the last 2 years. So for Shedeur, I think it's a good landing spot. But does he want to be there?
That's the big question, and you're right about Kevin Stefanski. If anybody can make it work, that's a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. That's a guy who won a playoff game having COVID. You know, this guy is just one fantastic coach. I think the world of him. I don't think he belongs in Cleveland. I think he belongs in a better locale, but that's just me. And this is going to be interesting to see. Welcome to the AFC North. Welcome to C-Town. Oh, the land Cleveland rocks. Can Shedeur roll? All right, let's go ahead to number 3 on the clock. It's the Giant Take, the New York Football Giants. We thank Josh Solomon and Alex Norian for making this pick. And here we go with number 3. The New York Giants select... It's Abdul Carter. The New York Giants select Abdul Carter from the Penn State University. I know that sounds wrong saying it. Kevin, what do you think?
I think Abdul Carter is a freak athlete, man. He has a get off, an ability to bend the edge. He's got a lightning quick first step. He's got some position versatility because he's so athletic. He's a guy that you can line him up on the edge and then drop him into coverage if you want to do that. Obviously, the big question is the medical. Is the foot okay? If you're going to pick him at the top of the draft, you have to feel pretty confident that he's going to heal up well from that. And then it just becomes a matter of how creatively can you use him. Like in New York, I mean, they've got a new DC. Got Shane Bowen. It's his first year as a DC. He was in Tennessee, though, for 3 years. And if he's running any of kind of Mike Vrabel's system, which Vrabel learned from Belichick, then he's really going to be a guy that will find ways to disguise Abdul Carter, man. He might line him up on the nose sometimes and then drop him into coverage or loop him back out to the end or bring him into the A gap. So I think that's a creative scheme. I don't know if that's exactly what they're running, but it's a creative scheme, and this is a guy you can get really creative with.
Absolutely. Hogan, you got to love this pick.
Absolutely. He's, the comparisons are there with Micah Parsons coming out a couple of years earlier, and we all see what Parsons has done in his NFL tenure so far. So if Carter is anything like Parsons in that aspect, it's a home run for the Giants at this point, where they need to bolster that defensive line at that point. I mean, we all saw what the Philadelphia Eagles did in that division last year. And if the Giants can take a piece from a Super Bowl recipe that the Eagles have, and Carter is that key guy, that ingredient that they need, it's going to be a perfect match in New York for them.
On the clock now is Foxborough Frenzy. Hogan, you are on the clock. I'll let you announce this pick.
Oh, this is going to make some Patriot fans very either mad, happy, sad. We'll find out. Either way, I'm a happy guy with it because I'm the one that made the pick. We're going with Will Campbell from LSU. And I know a lot of people out there want the flashy name. They want the Travis Hunter. They want the star power, the star-studded wide receiver, skill guys. Right now, this Patriots team, if you watch them for a millisecond last year, you know the trenches need some help. Drake May needs some help to stay upright, and Will Campbell is the guy to do that. The reason why the Patriots are selecting him 4th overall in this draft here, 21 years young, 6'6", 324 pounds, just raw, pure talent on what he can bring to this Patriots team that didn't really have any talent across the board on the offensive line. That's been in shambles. I've been calling them the Walking Dead the last couple of years at this point. Will Campbell is certainly the opposite of that. He's going to bring life to this offensive line. So, and he comes from a very, very tough conference in the SEC down there out of LSU, obviously. He knows what it's like to play against a superior talent, whether it's through Georgia, Tennessee, the other teams that they face down there. He's going to be pro ready. He's going to come in. He's going to be a day one starter, and he's going to do his job and keep Drake May upright and hopefully get this team back to where it needs to be.
Coach, I thought this was a no-brainer.
I think when you have Travis Hunter on the board, you're going to think about it. But obviously, you're taking the best offensive tackle in the draft. Nick, are you as like? Sometimes when people throw out these measurables comments, he's got short arms. Does that seem like as useless a comment to you as it does to me?
It is 100% useless in my book. The fact that, Elvis Dumervil was one of the best defensive linemen that we've seen in the last 20 years, and he was only 6 feet tall. Doesn't matter to me about intangibles. As long as the guy can play football, I love him.
Agreed, man. And I interviewed him at the NFL Scouting Combine, and he has a presence. He's a dude. Like when he was at the podium, that was a man. Right. That's standing there talking to you. So I don't think that there's going to be any issue, man. I think he's a day one starter at left tackle.
KT, Hogan, our Patriots and Steelers shared a short guy that was a defensive standout. I think his name was James Debo Harrison. So, I don't think they really had a problem. And just 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, we were talking about a guy with small hands in the draft, and it was Joe Burrow. And nobody's talking about that now whatsoever. The Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock right now. The Duval Dive and the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast, they went ahead and collaborated to make this pick, and they couldn't run up to the podium faster. With the 5th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Travis Hunter, multi-purpose star, Colorado. KT, where does this guy play?
Wherever he wants, probably.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. You probably heard his comments, right? He said he wants to be a two-way guy. He said, I'd quit football if I'm not a two-way guy. Well, I don't believe him on that one. He's not dumb, but he's going to lobby for it. He is as equipped to do it as anyone who's been in the draft this century. I mean, you got to go back to the days of Deion Sanders to find a guy who could do it even a little bit fairly reliably. New England messed around with it, right? With Troy Brown, but a couple of snaps here and there. Nobody's done it in the way that Travis Hunter presents the ability to do it. I will be very interested to see if Jacksonville in this instance lets him. They're okay at wide receiver. Brian Thomas, pretty good receiver, got a little bit of depth there. They stink in the secondary. And so the question there would be, are you going, he wants to be a wide receiver first and foremost. Does that become his primary position? You need him more on the other side. It's very intriguing.
Hogan, what are your thoughts? Your team passed up Travis Hunter. He goes to Jacksonville. Can he turn that program around?
Absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing is they need the star power down there in Jacksonville, where obviously Trevor Lawrence is struggling a little bit earlier on in his career. He's got the money that shows otherwise, but Travis Hunter can absolutely go down there and make a dent right away, either at the receiver position or the defensive back position. It depends on where he's going to be utilized the most. The biggest thing that I have to look at, if he's going to be utilized both ways, I'm going to say his career is probably going to be a little bit shorter than what some people are hoping for, because it's just such a tough way to live in the NFL if you're playing both positions like that. Because we did have Troy Brown. We also had Julian Edelman do it for a little while there. But yes, it was short-lived because it's such a demanding way to play the game. But if there's one person who can do it, he's got the youth, he's got the intangibles, Travis Hunter is the guy that could absolutely make it happen.
I'll tell you this real quick, man. If he's playing a lot of two-way reps, and I'm on offense, I'm loading up on big personnel and running the ball right at him, man. Right?
Exactly.
Make him come tackle people. So yeah, you're right. That's a good point about the durability issue.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our thanks to Kyle Nash from Duval Dive and John Shipley from the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast for making that pick. Let's go ahead and go to number 6. With the 6th pick in the NFL draft here, for the FFSN contributors, we go to the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast Network, and Hondo Carpenter made this pick, senior beat writer for SI and the Las Vegas Raiders. It is a very interesting pick here. Hondo went with Will Johnson, cornerback. Wow, Hogan, this is an interesting pick because of his pro day.
It's an interesting pick, but at the same time, if the Raiders need a corner to get things done, I think Will Johnson is going to turn some heads in the pros, because he's obviously played on an established team like Michigan. He's won a national championship. He's been coached by a pro coach already with the Harborough leaving. Obviously, he's going to be seeing him in the same division, which is going to be fascinating to see. But at the same time, you have to look at the opponents in that division that Will Johnson is going to be going against when he gets to the NFL level. He's going against Kansas City. He's going against the Chargers. And it's just, he's got to bring the talent that he had in college to the pro level and be able to shut down guys. That's the biggest thing when you see corners go this early in the draft. Their expectations are through the roof on being able to lock down guys and not allow receivers to go nuts on them. If Will Johnson can do half the stuff he did in college at the pro level, I think the Raiders made a really good choice here.
Kevin, this is where I need your expertise as a coach here. Now, this pick was made before the pro day. Hondo Carpenter was talking a lot about how this was going to be a very crucial pro day for Will Johnson. He did not run the 40-yard dash. He did, however, post a 37-inch vertical jump and a 4.33 second short shuttle. He did positional drills as well there at Michigan's pro day. Is that a big deal, or is it a corner and a good corner and you just take the corner?
Honestly, I could care less about the pro day, man. I've seen this guy play football for 2.5 years as a starter at Michigan, and he's an NFL-ready corner. And I think that this is a divisional pick, because Nick's point about who you're going up against is a good one, right? Bo Nix, who looks like he's going to be a starter for a long time, Justin Herbert, and Patrick Mahomes. And you got to have answers. You want to make the playoffs, you got to beat those guys. And so I'm sure it would be really tempting. Like if I'm looking at the board right now and I'm Vegas, I'm like, oh, Ashton Genty, man. He would look great in a Pete Carroll offense, a little bit of beast mode down there, 2.0. And with Chip Kelly, who knows how to use running backs as well as anybody's the OC, that would be very tempting. But the smart move is to try to fortify the defense so you can compete in that division.
It's funny. In the latest mock draft on the Las Vegas Raiders Insider that posted today, they actually went ahead and took Kinshawn Judkins in the second round. So they were able to get that really good running back who knows a little bit about Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly knows a little bit about him winning a national championship together. So that's going to be interesting. They might go get that running back in the second round, but they get a stud corner here. You got to love it. Let's go ahead, and it's time for number 7. It's the New York Jets. And the pick is in. The New York Jets. We could go back to the Madison Square Garden days, or actually it was Radio City Music Hall. We could go back to the Radio City Music Hall days. Will there be boos for this pick? There was always a boo, the New York boo for their pick, but I don't think so, because this is a stud, just like Brock Bowers last year. They go tight end. They don't go tight end. They didn't go tight end last year. They go tight end this year. It is another Penn State Nittany Lion, and it's Warren going off the tight end. I love this pick, Kevin.
Yeah, if you're a Jets fan and you boo this pick, you should be banned from ever attending the draft. That's a this guy is I said Abdul Carter from Penn State was a freak. Ty Warren is 6'6", 260, plays in the freaking slot. You know, like, you line this dude up in the slot against safeties. He will mismatch them to death, but he can put his hand down and he'll block. He's not just a flex tight end or a move tight end, man. He's a physical inline guy. He has tremendous skill. I think the league took a look at what Brock Bowers did last year, and they said, my gosh, if you can creatively scheme your tight end, and he is a dual threat guy like Bowers is, now you've got a tremendous amount of opportunity to create those mismatches. So I think that is a beautiful move. And then, honestly, man, he's played quarterback in high school. If the tush push is legal, I'm tush pushing the hell out of stuff with this guy, right? I mean, how are you going to stop a 6'6", 260-pound tight end running tush push in any short yardage situation? I think it's a phenomenal pick.
Hogan, you've got to see this guy in your division. Wow, you can't be liking this.
I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to the Jets, I was going to talk trash about no matter who they took. So it doesn't matter. They can't beat the Patriots. I mean, that's not true. They've beaten the Patriots a couple of times. But either way, this is actually a tremendous pick for them, like you said. Moving on from, obviously, if Tyler Conklin's not going to be there anymore, Warren is somebody I don't want to see in the division, especially seeing him twice a year. What he is able to do in the pro level with the Jets organization, sorry, Jets, I got to dump on you more. I'm not too worried about it. At the end of the day, it's the Jets. So they're going to find a way to screw it up. When he goes somewhere else, he's going to have a heck of a career, and I wish him the best then.
Jets, mess. But we got to thank Big G, Sean Gurley, for making this pick for us. I'm going to ask you guys both. I'm going off script here real quick. KT and Hogan, just a yes or no, or just like either or. Who's better? Last year's big tight end or this year's tight end? Bowers or Warren? Who are you taking, KT?
I mean, they're kind of different guys, but until Warren does it, you got to take Bowers. Guy was unbelievable last year.
I'm right there with that. You got to go with Bowers because what he did was unnatural last year.
It was incredible. The Carolina Panthers are on the clock. Desmond Johnson from Keep Pounding makes this pick, and they are going Jalen Walker off of the edge from Georgia. Big pick, big guy here, Hogan.
Yeah, unfortunately, as a Texas fan, I got to see him as a wrecking ball against my Texas Longhorns a couple times last year, and boy, oh boy, does he bring the juice. This guy is an absolute animal, and the Carolina Panthers are getting a tremendous edge guy. 6'2", 245 pounds, looks like he runs like a gazelle. He is just running through offensive linemen. It's insane. He is going to be a quarterback's nightmare, especially in the division down there with the NFC South, where you have the Saints that are reeling. You have Tampa Bay, who's obviously been pretty good for the last couple of years. Baker Mayfield is not going to want to see this guy bearing down on him. Jalen Walker is he's an absolute monster. He played for Georgia. You know, it's a pedigree program. He's obviously won all the accolades. I think he was the Butkus Award winner last year as well. So that speaks just volumes of the type of guy he is. And the fact that Carolina is getting him at the 8th pick overall, absolute steal for them. I love it. Carolina gets younger, beefier, and they could make a play for the division sooner than some people think.
Kevin, this is a dude here, isn't he?
Yeah, I second what Nick said, and I'll just add this. Carolina last year was last in yards per game. They're last in points per game on defense. And they gave up more points last year than any team in NFL history. No team in NFL history has ever given up more points than the Carolina Panthers. So I don't care who they pick on defense. It's going to be an upgrade. But this guy is a dude, so he is a significant upgrade.
Okay, we are 8 picks down. We have got 24 to go. Yes, I do my math. And so here we go. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back after this quickie. Stick around. It's the Fans First Sports Network. It's the Contributor Mock Draft for 2025, the 3rd annual edition. Welcome back to the Mock Draft on the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. I am here with K.T.Smith and Nick Hogan. We are here together with the coach and Hogan and Bad all together for the first time. And doing this draft, I'm having so much fun. Our contributors, and if you have not had a chance to check out some of these other networks, make sure you do it, especially when your team is playing their team. Go ahead and check out that affiliate there on Fans First Sports Network. Really knowledgeable guys all the way around, knowledgeable girls, great staffs. I mean, I love what we get from the Fans First Sports Network, and we've got another great one coming up next. It is the Dome Patrol, led by Wesley Coleman here, making this pick. And Wesley Coleman, let's see who he goes with. All right, this is the most interesting pick for me so far that I actually have some questions about. A lot of people think he's a no-brainer, but they're going, again, University of Michigan, another Wolverine, goes off the board on defense. And this time around, it is Mason Graham, the big DT. Kevin, I have some questions about this pick, just for the fact that I don't know if he is better than his line mate, Kenneth Grant.
I mean, they're kind of different types of players. Kenneth Grant's a big space eater. He absorbs blocks. He'll take on doubles. He'll keep guys from getting to the second level. Mason Graham, man, he's a penetrator. Right, they're scheme specific guys to me. I think that you need to be in a penetrating style defense, like a 4-eye and a tight front, a 3-tech and an aggressive 4-down line. I think that's where Mason Graham will excel. So I'll be honest, I don't know what system they're going to run in New Orleans under Kellen Moore. I don't know who the DC is right now, but I think if you feel confident in using Mason Graham as an aggressive penetrator and not as a read and react gap eater, he's going to be a tremendous disruption for offenses.
I think he is. I agree with him being a penetrator. I agree with him being a first-round pick. I didn't know whether he would really go this high, whether he was fool's gold, but we'll find out when he's wrecking offenses here, Hogan.
That's right. That's the biggest thing. Again, I go back to the pedigree of the college that the player went to. And coming from Michigan, again, coached by a Harbaugh, he knows his stuff, and he's going to be able to do things in the NFL that you're going to want him to do. And again, in a division like the NFC South, what better position to take advantage of that against some weaker offensive lines down there?
All right. It is time for number 10 as we're moving right around here. It is Pay here. Our good friend Pay Saunders making this pick. And whoa, I love this guy. This is a guy that has been moving up the boards. They went for the big lineman, Armand Membeau, tackle, University of Missouri, going to the Windy City, fellas.
Yeah, this one is obviously, warms my heart, my fatties, as I love to call them, my offensive linemen, getting some recognition, getting some picks up here in the first round like this. It's always good to see. And Armand is one of those guys that's going to bring it every single game for you. He is a big dude, 6'3", 6'4", over 300 pounds, going to fit in nicely at either left tackle, right tackle, wherever Chicago is going to need them. Chicago's got a brand new offensive line going into next year, which is exactly what you want to see as a Bears fan, because Caleb Williams was just absolutely wrecked last year. Every time he turned around, he had a guy in his face, and it was just impossible for him to get any throws out, run, do whatever he needed to do. But the fact that they got Armand coming in, Joe Tooney, they got some other upgrades that they had in the offseason there. Chicago, this has got to be the year that they've got to take the steps and put all the pieces together. And with Ben Johnson as the new coach there, it's going to be fascinating to see how that offense is going to be propelled this year.
Ben Johnson's making sure they're protected, right, KT?
Absolutely. This guy's an athlete. I mean, he gets out in space and he'll climb to the second level and get on linebackers. You want to run a wide zone scheme, man. He's a great wide zone guy because of how quick he is. So look where Ben Johnson had success in Detroit, by spreading the field, by running perimeter screens and spacing the field and getting that great Detroit offensive line, they had good athletes on there, guys that could get out on the perimeter. So I think he's trying to take a step in that direction here.
All right. I love this pick. I think that's fantastic. Pick made by Pay Saunders and Frustrated Chicago Sports. I absolutely love that name. That's fantastic. Let's go ahead. Another great name and another great affiliate here on the Fans First Sports Network. Up next, it's the San Francisco 49ers. All right, thanks to Rob Stats Guerrera for making this pick for the gold standard. Great name. I absolutely love that. I feel like Cobra Kai. Great name for a dojo. Great name for a podcast network. Let's go ahead. They make the pick here. KT, who are they going with here?
Yeah, so Shamar Stewart, all right, the edge rusher out of A&M. He is a fascinating prospect here because this could be the biggest home run of the draft, and it could also be the biggest swing and miss of the draft. I mean, he's a physical freak. He's like 6'6", 290 with unbelievable get off. I mean, he just looks like you built him out of stone. He's exactly what you would want if you just wanted to chisel out a 4-3 edge rusher, 9 technique, etc. But he didn't always play like that. And so this would be an investment in his potential. If you think as a staff, you can develop this guy and get him where you need him to be, then he could be an absolute monster. But if you can't, he could wind up being a guy who disappoints simply because his production can't match his measurables.
All right, Hogan, you like this record? Do you like this pick?
I do. The biggest thing that San Francisco is looking at is who he's going to be paired up with, and that's Bosa. So you know that not all the spotlight is going to be on Shamar when he gets there. He's going to have a chance to do his own thing with Bosa drawing all the attention on the other side. That San Francisco defense is already stockpiled with talent as long as they stay healthy, and this only adds to it. Like KT talked about, if he measures up to what he should be, this is a home run for San Francisco.
All right. Always an adventure when the Dallas Cowboys, excuse me, I was not trying to mess up their name. Let me try that again. Always an adventure when the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock. Here we go. Making the pick is B. Michael Davis for the star-studded Cowboys. And I love this pick. Here he goes. I didn't think he was going to last this long. Ashton Jeanty, running back, Boise State. Oh, wow. Hogan, this guy's going to fly.
Yeah, this is a great pick. And for the Dallas Cowboys, who have been looking for an answer since Ezekiel Elliott left town, essentially, this is a guy that can replace him. And obviously, I know a big knock on him is being 5'9" and playing for a team like Boise, where it's not a perennial big league school in college there. The guy set all kinds of records. I mean, there was talk for a while where he was going to break some ridiculous records last year. And obviously he got banged up and shut down in the postseason going against Penn State there. But at the same time, you can't take away what this guy brings to the table every day. And I think one of his letters came out that he was sending to teams about how they're not going to regret picking him and that he's going to do exactly what Saquon did for the Eagles last year. I love that mentality from this kid. And if he can bring the same level of intensity that he brought that final year in college to the pros with the Cowboys, that they desperately need that running back, that just, it's going to be amazing for Dallas. Because again, I look at Ezekiel Elliott's first couple of years with Dallas and what he was able to do for Dak and setting that team up for success. And they haven't had that since then. It's all been on Dak's shoulders. So if Jeanty can bring what he needs to Dallas, Dallas is going to be right back in action where they need to be.
All right, KT, Tony Dorsett, Emmitt Smith. Of course, Hogan just mentioned Ezekiel Elliott, and now Austin Jeanty. Whoa. What? That's a Mount Rushmore of running backs right there.
I hate to say it, but he kind of looks like he's built to wear the Dallas uniform. I can see him in that uniform with the stupid star on their helmet and everything. But man, contact balance. Like when I think of Ashton Jeanty, I think contact balance. He had more yards after contact than any running back in all of college football last year. He is low to the ground. He is your prototype one cut and go guy. Square the shoulders, get up to the second level, run through contact. So Dallas, when they're good on offense, it's when the offensive line and the run game are working first, and Dak Prescott is working off of that. So if they get back to that, like Nick said, man, they could beat the Cowboys again.
All right, it's time for that dysfunctional team down south, and a lot of people will be shocked for me to call the Miami Dolphins dysfunctional, but it seems like they have been as of late. Looks like Jalen Ramsey wants a new home, and will they replace him here? Well, I made the pick for the Miami Dolphins, so I was able to go ahead and do that intro well because I knew that we took one of Hogan's guys, a Texas Longhorn, Jadi Barron. Did I pronounce it right, Jadi?
Yeah. I mean, I just call him Barron anyway, but yeah, you got it. Like he's a great player.
The corner from the University of Texas. They needed a corner. They needed a guard. I didn't want to take a guard that high. I think Barron is Kevin Smith was talking about this guy on our podcast a couple of weeks ago. Wow, I think he's fantastic, KT, and I know you love him.
Yeah, I love him. If he wound up at 21 when the Steelers pick and they took him, I'd be thrilled. He is tough. Like the first thing I always look for when I think about corners is their toughness, because people say all the time, "Oh, well, in the NFL they don't tackle that." You got to be tough to play corner in the NFL. I mean, imagine going up against some of the stud receivers in the NFL. It is a mental and physical grind. And Jadi Barron can play on the outside because he's tough. He can play in the slot because he's strong. He's like 5'10", 200 pounds. He's built for it. He's got position versatility. I think he's a guy, if you felt pretty good on the outside, he could be your slot corner for a year or until you felt like he was ready to play outside. So, just a great football player.
You've seen this guy in action. I mean, is he all we're saying he is, Hogan?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why he won the Jim Thorpe Award as the nation's best defensive back last year, where Texas had an amazing defensive run that I haven't seen in a long, long time from Texas. And he was a integral part of that, just flying around, smashing guys. He's been phenomenal for Texas for a while. And as much as I hate to see him go to Miami, he's going to be successful wherever he goes in the pros. I can absolutely tell you that.
All right, with the 14th pick of the FFSN, the Fans First Network contributor mock draft, we go now to the Indianapolis Colts, and the Blue Stable makes this pick, and it's a guy who's becoming a darling as of late in the draft. He's flying up the charts. Tight end, Colston Loveland. Hogan, do you love or really love or just like Loveland?
I think this is a good pick for Indianapolis, that obviously they need some fireworks, some firepower on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, there's so many question marks, obviously, with Anthony Richardson and everything that's going on with that. But when you get a guy as established as Loveland here, he's going to make an immediate impact with the Indianapolis Colts there. He was obviously a huge part of the Michigan team, their national championship year. And then this year he got the All-American honors for 2024, playing his last year with Michigan there. The big thing is obviously Indy hasn't had that really stud tight end in a long, long time. The last tight end that I could think of that was really a absolute home run winner or hitter for Indianapolis was Dallas Clark, and that's been a long time since he's put on the white and blue there for Indianapolis. So if Loveland can step in and do some of the things he did with Michigan and turn that offensive around and get Anthony Richardson going in that division, this is a great pick for the Colts.
All right, thanks to Marcus from the Blue Stable making that pick. Where does he stack up to a guy like Tyler Warren? Or are they completely different animals here, KT?
I think athletically he stacks up pretty well with him. He's a high school basketball player, so he's got that basketball background, and you can see that with his ball instincts and his aggressiveness, the way he uses his body. He's not a great blocker though right now, so I think that's the significant gap that Warren has. Warren's a nasty inline blocker. Loveland not there yet, but as a receiver, he's an elite talent. Like I would put him as just a pure receiver, his route running ability and athleticism, etc. I'd put him in the sort of Brock Bowers conversation, but he's not there as a complete football player the way those other guys are.
All right. Once again, thanks to the Blue Stable for making that pick. I like that pick. I'm really like McDonald's. I'm Loveland it. Okay, the first head shake from K.T.Smith of the night. I finally got one. Let's go ahead to the Dirty South. We are going to have the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons podcast made this pick. Thanks to Scott Kennedy for making this pick. And they are going to a team that I used to watch when I lived in the Mountain State. It's the Marshall Thundering Herd and Mike Green. The selection there, KT.
Yeah, there's some people that believe that he, if you could equate it through all position groups, is the most athletic player in the draft. Sort of the pound for pound champ, so to speak, in terms of athleticism. And as 6'3", like 258, he might need to put on a little bit of weight. I don't know how much he can on a 6'3" frame. That'll be an interesting question. Can he like carry enough weight and maintain the thing that makes him so effective, which is that unbelievable burst around the edge? And then can the fact that he's playing at Marshall, which isn't playing top level D1 competition, is he dominating at that level? Well, can he take that then to the NFL and be the same player? If the answer on those two questions is yes, then this guy's an absolute stud.
Is it easy being green for Mike Hogan?
Well, we'll see how easy it is for him to be an Atlanta Falcon at this point, because like I said, talking about that division again, where I've already spoken to the NFC South the way that I have, the Falcons are in a prime position to bolster that defense that they need to at this point, where their offense obviously is going to rely heavily on Michael Penix Jr. going forward, where the Kirk Cousins experience did not work out down there. But if Mike Green can come in and be a contributor for that defense, again, what KT talked about coming from Marshall, it's always fascinating to see how those smaller school guys do in the pros. They're either home runs or they're just, they're strikeouts. So we'll see how he ends up in Atlanta.
All right, on we go. It's time for the 16th pick of the draft. We are going to go out west, and it's the Arizona Cardinals on the clock. Okay, thanks to Cardinals Update, Jesus Garcia, for making this pick. They're going with Alabama, the Crimson Tide. We're going to see a Tide player, Roll Tide, out there, and here we go. It is none other than Jihad Campbell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll just take this one because, like I said, with Alabama is always fascinating to see the linebackers that come out of that program, where I know better than anybody. I saw Dante Hightower for a while. You see CJ Mosley. You've seen some guys that come out are just absolute wreckers. Campbell is an interesting one where we'll see how much of an impact he makes right away in the pros, where he obviously, Alabama's been a different pedigree since Nick Saban left, right? They're still scary. They're still Alabama, but they're still that program that you have to fear and respect just because it's Alabama. And Campbell is an integral part of that defense that made a decent run last year. And, he brings the intangibles to the NFL that could have success. He's 6'2", 235. He flies around. Again, playing in the SEC only helps a player out going to the pros, and going to Arizona, that Arizona needs that help on the defensive side, where obviously they're locked in Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. on the offensive side. They need to focus on that defense to stay competitive with the rest of the NFC West out there.
KT, Alabama, a defender, an edge rusher. Enough said, right?
Yeah, let me tell you, man, I coached against Jihad Campbell when he was 6'2" and 190 pounds, going to Timber Creek High School here in South Jersey before he transferred to IMG. And he was playing wide receiver at Timber Creek. He was 6'2", 190, rushing the edge, lightning quick. Can you imagine how fast he was off the edge in high school at 190 pounds? He was blurring the edge. And then he's going out and playing wide receiver and just out jumping people for balls. And now he's 45, 50 pounds heavier. And you look at him, but he's still the same athlete. You can see that wide receiver burst in him in the way that he plays. So the interesting thing for him will be he's still really learning the game. I mean, he's a guy who's played a bunch of different positions. And like I said, in high school, he was an edge rusher and a wide receiver. And now he's being drafted as an NFL linebacker. So I agree with Nick, man. He may have to make it may take him a little longer than some of these other guys as he learns the game or continues to learn the game. But he'll get there. He's too good not to get there.
How long did it take to get Jihad out of your nightmares?
We actually did pretty well against them. I'm not trying to boast. Shout out to Will Drain. Will Drain was our offensive tackle who did a pretty good job pass protecting against them.
All right. Great shout out to Will. That's fantastic. All right. With that, we'll make sure that Will has time to go ahead and call all his friends and relatives that he was mentioned by Coach K.T.Smith on the Fans First Football Show. And while Will Drain goes ahead and does that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be right back right after this for the second half of the Fans First Sports Network's FFSN Contributor Mock Draft. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Let me try that again. Welcome back to the FFSN Contributor Mock Draft. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Kevin Thatcher Smith is with me as well. And Nick Aurelius Hogan. I don't know his middle name, so I just gave him one. Nick, what's your middle name?
It's Ryan, but that was a good try.
Aurelius and Ryan, they're awfully close. NRH. Okay. So
Bryan, do you know what the T stands for in K.T.Smith? And we've been doing shows together for 5 years. And if you don't know this, I'm gonna be pissed.
I just said it, Thatcher.
Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry.
I did. I said Thatcher. Oh, I call you Thatcher Kevin Thatcher Smith all the time, at least once a show.
All right. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure you understood that.
Oh, I take care of my boy. I know all about your lineage. You have a British mother, right? Is that your
my grandmother? Yeah, it's a very, very English name.
Okay, so that's there. Well, Margaret Thatcher. There you go.
That was my aunt.
Oh, there you go.
That's not true. I made that up.
No, sell it.
All right. I'm sorry.
Never go back on a good lie. I would have. Hogan would have believed it. All right.
Right. Well, my uncle's Hulk Hogan, so.
Let me tell you something, brother. It's time for number 17. Saved by the chime as we get goofy halfway through. It is B Dirt from Running Through the Jungle here on the Fans First Sports Network. The Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock, and I think B Dirt ran this pick up. I like this one. I don't like the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers and the rest of the division are going to have to face this guy, but another Wolverine defender off the board. With the 17th pick, the Bengals select Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan.
Yeah, I think Nick's referenced the division that you're playing in a couple times as motivation for some of these picks, and I think this fits that bill because if you're the Bengals and you look at the number of points you surrendered last year in division games alone, not to mention just in general league-wide, you got to be able to stop the run. You're going to have to play Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and company twice, and you're going to have to play the Steelers twice, who make no bones about the fact that they want to run the football first. So that's this move right here with a big two-gap run-stuffing defensive tackle who can play the 1 or the 3 tech. That's exactly what they're trying to do.
This guy's just munching people up, Hogan. He's like Pac-Man here.
Right. And that's exactly what like KT talked about in that division. You want a guy who can stuff the run. And if there's a guy who can do it, it's Kenneth Grant. The dude is an absolute house and he's going to be awesome in the pros.
All right, on we go. It is number 18, and the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock. Ryan Mauser for the 12th Man Network goes ahead and takes this pick. With the 18th selection, they go guard Tyler Booker, Alabama Crimson Tide, Hogan.
Another Alabama guy, and that's okay because it's another fatty who I love to talk about. And this time being a guard, it's an actually really interesting prospect here because he is massive for a guard. Obviously, the NFL, everybody's massive, so he's going to fit right in there. But being 6'5", 320 pounds, this is a guy that Seattle absolutely needs to take to keep Sam Darnold upright, especially in that division where you have guys that are wrecking train all over the place in the NFC West. We talked about earlier where, again, divisional stuff, it always comes back to that. But Tyler Booker is going to be great for Seattle where they need to get back to establish an offensive line. Like I said, keeping Darnold upright. They just paid him a ton of money, so he needs to stay upright. And Booker is a great prospect that's going to hopefully pay dividends down the road. Obviously, a little bit younger and only spent a little bit of time with Alabama there, but he has the intangibles at that size to fit in and cause havoc in the run game and also keep Darnold upright. So I do love this pick for Seattle.
KT, Charles Cross is there on that line, and it seems like nobody else. Tyler Booker fits in.
Yeah, and he's a leader. All the guys at Alabama talked about what a team leader he was. I saw an interview with him on NFL Network earlier where he was talking about how he took protecting Jalen Milroe personally. Yeah, he saw himself as a bodyguard, and he said that's now my job, man, is to take care of that guy first and foremost. You want that mentality from your offensive linemen, guys that will be selfless, great leaders, great team guys, and will protect their quarterback at all costs.
All right, thanks once again to the 12th Avenue podcast, as I correct myself on the name there. Picking this, Ryan Mauser, thanks again for the Seattle Seahawks. We are going now to Tampa Bay and see who they add to the mix on what I think is a very intriguing team down there. Let's go ahead and let's go to the pick. We're going to do it now. Here we go. All right, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go safety here. I'm going to try this. Nick Emanuwari.
Yeah, Nick Emanuwari. He is a really intriguing prospect. He's got kind of a Kyle Hamilton vibe in terms of his size and his length and his ability to play in a bunch of different spots. I mean, he's played some corner at South Carolina. He's a hitter. He's a ball hawk. He's a freak athlete. He had he jumped halfway through the roof at Lucas Oil Stadium at the Combine. So this is a guy that I think if you know how to use him right, if you know exactly the role you want him to play, and you can build a secondary around his strengths, he can be that kind of a centerpiece. I wouldn't want to just see him, though, get stuck into a defense where they're playing kind of a bland, straight zone scheme. Get creative with this guy. He could be a dude who wreaks havoc.
Hogan, how much havoc will this guy wreak?
Well, it's not hard to live up to expectations down in Tampa Bay, where the last great safety that I can recall playing for them was a guy by the name of John Lynch. So if he can bring anything to the table like John Lynch did down there and bring them a Super Bowl in the similar aspect, it's going to be a great fit. But yeah, like we talked about, the fact 6'3", 220, he's going to be just demolishing people out there. I can't wait to see him lace it up.
All right, the Mile High Broncos are up next. The Denver Broncos on the clock at number 20. Our good friend Jess Place, who is also on the Fans First Football Show with Hogan and I and Aiden Reed as well. And Tim Lynch, Jonathan Rice, great gang there, along with Jess Place, making this pick. And I love this one. With the 20th pick of the draft, the Denver Broncos go mile high for Omarion Hampton, North Carolina running back. Oh, wow. Wow, Hogan.
This kid is going to be something special, I think. If he stays healthy and he brings to Denver what he brought from North Carolina, this is a phenomenal pick. Looking at his stats alone from the last couple seasons, what he was able to do with North Carolina, he averaged almost 6 yards a carry. 15 touchdowns in both the last 2 seasons is remarkable, especially for North Carolina. I mean, this is just awesome to see. And Denver is desperately, desperately in need of a running back that can break them open again. Obviously, they're developing Bo Nix. You got Sean Payton there doing wonderful things with that organization, turning them around very, very quickly. And if this guy can slot in the likes of your Terrell Davis or something like that, it is just going to be fascinating to see. But I do really like Hampton going to Denver at this pick, and he's going to fit in great there.
KT, he would have looked good in black and gold, but he's going to look so good in orange and blue. And this is a team that loves that Carolina blue, who took a running back, Javonte Williams, just a couple years ago. Now they try to do better by bringing in Amarian Hampton.
Yeah, this is a Sean Payton pick for sure, because Hampton is your typical downhill one cut and go guy, but he's got some receiving skills. He's got a guy. He's a guy who, in that Denver offense, if they can get the passing game going, you can now begin to get those linebackers playing back on their heels a little bit and wear them out with Amarian Hampton. I mean, he was second in the NCAA last year to Genty in terms of yards after contact. So if he's a guy, if you can get 8 in the box and crowd the box, he's not going to be effective. But man, if the passing game's working, you're stretching the backers vertically and you're getting him to play off the ball a little bit, he'd be a problem in the second half wearing teams out.
All right, it's number 21, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock. This was made by the entire team at the Steel Curtain Network. Jeff Hartman made the final pick. There was some deliberation here. It was very interesting because a guy had fallen that just didn't seem realistic. Jeff went with the more realistic pick. KT and I were among the guys. Even though we love the pick that we selected, we're going for the dream of just taking a guy that we think is just absolutely incredible for the offense. But they did the right thing and went defensive tackle, Oregon Ducks. If it's a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it's a Pittsburgh Steeler. Here we go. It is Derek Harmon, defensive tackle. KT.
I think Derek Harmon's going to be a great football player. But yes, Bryan, you and I were in Camp Tet McMillan. Put Tet McMillan and DK Metcalf together on offense, for the love of God. Even the Steelers
with George
can't
Pickens.
Screw that up. Yeah, even the Steelers can't screw that up. But Derek Harmon, smart pick, because the Steelers are thin on the D-line. There you got Cam Hayward and Keanu Benton, and then a bunch of reserves. So they need to upgrade. Andy Weidel loves to build through the defensive and offensive front like he did in Philly. I think Derek Harmon, he's 6'5" and 312 pounds. He's long. He can set the edge at the 5 tech. My only question is, the Steelers play a lot of tight front where that end is tucked just inside the tackle. You're playing on the inside shoulder of the tackle. Is he strong enough to take on NFL down blocks? And you're going to get doubled a lot. Is he strong enough to anchor in against? That's my only reservation about Harmon.
A monster here, Hogan, in the AFC North. It is the new black and blue division.
It's always been the black and blue division. It's always a fist fight between the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bengals. We forget about the Browns because they're the typical Browns. But no, this is a great pick for Pittsburgh. Obviously, Tomlin's got that team under wraps with what he's been able to do the last 20 plus years at this point. It feels like he's just Harmon's a great pick, and how he's going to slide in there on the defensive side with Watt and everybody else. I like this pick a lot.
All right, the lightning round is up next. No, we're not going to go blazing through the picks. That is the name of our FFSN affiliate for the Los Angeles Chargers, and they wasted no time. They ran up, and where the Steelers left them hanging, they just snapped them right up. It is Tet McMillan from Arizona State, the Sun Devil, Hogan.
Yeah, this is a great pick for the Chargers. Justin Herbert needs a guy that he can rely on, and he hasn't had that in a little while there, where Keenan Allen was shipped off a couple seasons ago, and then he just losing his number one receiver this year, obviously in the offseason free agency. He's got to have somebody to throw to other than McConkey there, who was phenomenal for him last year. But this is a deep, large threat that the Chargers have needed. McMillan is his intangibles are crazy. 6'4", 220 pounds. He's just, if you look at his stats of what he was able to do in college, 2023, 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. I mean, that's insane in that division there. He's going to bring great things to the Chargers, and I can't wait to see what this kid does.
You've already waxed poetically about this guy, KT. Anything else to say, or do you just love the fit here in Los Angeles?
Yeah, let's give him to Justin Herbert. That's a great idea. All right. That's what I have to say about this. Right. Give him the Harbaugh. Give him the freaking Harbaugh. Right. No, it's a great pick, man. I mean, it just to pair him with Ladd McConkey, because Ladd McConkey is going to kill you in the middle of the field out of the slot. He's so quick, lightning quick in there. But now, if you play McMillan outside and if he can win one-on-ones, and now you got a shade of safety over to him, McConkey's going to be even more effective. So it is a pick that has the potential to make everybody on that offense better.
Yeah, doesn't it make what was his name? Number one pick just a couple years ago. Was it Quentin Johnson?
Quentin Johnson. Yeah, he's still there.
Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, he's been all right. He's been okay.
What was the first name? Was I right? Quentin.
Yeah.
Quentin. Yeah,
Mike Williams is back there. They're assembling large receiving crew.
This makes Quentin better. It makes Williams better. I thought Williams was actually good if the Steelers would have played him when he was here. But as far as this goes, that's a good receiver. I mean, those receivers were nothing last year, and now this is a completely different stable. You got to love what they are doing in the LAC. We just got to make sure that doesn't happen, though. Somebody else has to take him. All right, here we go. Don't let Tet fall. Don't let him go to Los Angeles. All right, the Green Bay Packers are on the clock. For Green Bay, it's an interesting pick here. Let's go ahead and take a look. They're going receiver as well, and a guy that I absolutely love as well, what he did for the champions last year. It's Emeka Egbuka of The Ohio State University going to the Pack.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite players in the whole draft. I just think he's such a smart football player. It's like having another coach on the field. When I was at the Combine, I took 10 full minutes and listened to him at the podium just because he was so compelling. The way he talked about who he is as a person, his study habits, his work ethic. I mean, he's a 4.4 40 guy. He blocks that, man. When he's not getting the football, he's the same guy as when he is getting the football. And you can't say that about a lot of receivers. I mean, he blocks like that's his job. And he can play inside, he can play outside. And let's face it, man, Green Bay they're a little shaky at the wide receiver position. I mean, Jaden Reed's been okay. Romeo Doubs has been okay. Christian Watson's coming off an ACL. So they've got some decent names there, but they haven't been great. And now you add a really smart professional guy like Egbuka. It just raises the level of the offense.
Hogan, love it.
Yeah, this is a great fit. I mean, the fact that he's coming from Ohio State where they don't play in the warmest of weather or anything like that, and then going to the frozen tundra in Green Bay, I think he's going to be great to slide in there, and Jordan Love is going to love him and have an awesome connection with him right away. So this is a great pick for Green Bay.
I like this pick a lot, but I wanted it to be Love to Loveland. So I wanted them to get the tight end just so we can go ahead and say that. Let's go ahead and stay in the North for our next pick. Skull! The Minnesota Vikings are up next. It is our good friend David Stefano. David Stefano will be joining us this fall with the Fans First Sports Network, the Fans First Football Show. So look for him joining the band. But David goes ahead and makes this pick, and he is going defense for his Minnesota Vikings. Out of East Carolina, the Minnesota Vikings select Shavon Revel Jr.
This is an interesting pick here because Minnesota obviously had the crazy season that they did last year that I think nobody in their right mind predicted them to have. And obviously the big talk of the town was Sam Darnold throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and everybody on offense there. Their defense kind of got slept on a little bit. And now they're going for Siobhan here, which is interesting because if you look at his history in college, he started with Louisburg there, and then he went to East Carolina. So he's had an interesting journey to the NFL. Injuries are obviously a big part of it, and at the corner position, it's very, very integral that you have that durability long term. Tearing the ACL last year, not a great look, but obviously the Minnesota Vikings see something there that they like with this kid. 6'2", just under 200 pounds, so a little bit light, but at the same time, if he can keep up with receivers, that knee's healthy, he's good to go. Minnesota's got a good player for their defense.
KT, what do you think?
I think it's all scheme fit. You know, he's a press corner. Like he's a physical guy. He wants to play in your face. He's not as good when you back him off and he plays loose man. And whose defense is that? That's Brian Flores, right? What's he going to do? He's going to get after the quarterback. He's going to ask you to play press man. He's going to ask you to cover for 3 seconds. Like, we're getting after the quarterback. You got to hold up for 3 seconds in coverage. And if you got a good press corner who can jam receivers at the line of scrimmage and not give them easy releases, then that really helps that defense. He reminds me, Bryan, of Joey Porter a little bit because he can be a little bit handsy. I don't think he's as far along as Joey Porter was developmentally, but his style of play is very Joey Porter-esque.
All right, there we go. 24 down. We have just 8 more teams to go in a draft where every single NFL team has a number 1 pick this year that hasn't happened in a long time. We are going to see what the final 8 do. So stick around. We will be right back on the Fans First Football Network. Stick around. All right, we are back on the Fans First Sports Network. I just changed the name there for a while. It's been a long draft here as we go along in our contributor mock draft. Remember, for all of your favorite teams' football needs, and not just football, but any of your favorite sports. If you're following WrestleMania this weekend or last weekend, check out our wrestling shows. Check out The Diamond. If you're looking at baseball, so many good shows there. The Stanley Cup playoffs are coming up. We have got the NBA playoffs coming up. If your favorite team is something you want to know more about, know it here first on the Fans First Sports Network. So much more than that. So stick around. There's great stuff. There's great college football. And that's where we learned about a lot of these guys that we're talking about today. And it's time to go on. We are going now to number 25. All right, along with Kevin Smith and Nick Hogan, I'm Bryan Anthony Davis. It is the Houston Texans on the clock. They are going to the Ohio State University once again. Is that correct? Did I have that correct? Yes. Josh Simmons is the pick, KT.
Yeah, so I'll go back to scheme fit because we've talked about that a little bit. Josh Simmons played in a Chip Kelly, even though it was only half a year before he got injured. He played in the Chip Kelly scheme. Before that, a wide zone scheme at Ohio State. The new OC in Houston is Nick Caley. He was in LA with Sean McVay for years. So what did you learn in Sean McVay's offense? You learned wide zone, you learned boot. Your offensive linemen have to be athletic, got to be able to move. And so we go back to Josh Simmons. He's an athletic offensive tackle who comes from a similar scheme. Whether the knee is going to be 100% by the beginning of training camp, that'll be the thing because he's recovering from that injury. But big picture, perfect scheme fit.
Yeah, Hogan, this just seems right for the AFC South champs.
Oh, for sure, because CJ Stroud's going to love to see another Ohio State guy there to protect him. And then Joe Mixon on top of that, too, running the ball. They're going to love this, where they're going to revamp that line. It's going to be great to see how they compete down there in the AFC South, where they've run the division a couple of years now. We'll see if they three-peat.
All right, the Rams are up, and we go to LA Rams up, our FFSN, Los Angeles Rams affiliate, to go ahead and make this pick. With the 26th pick in the Fans First Sports Network contributor draft, It's Matthew Golden, wide receiver of the University of Texas. Music to your ears, Nick Hogan.
It is, or at least it would be if he wasn't going to the Rams, but the Rams are getting a great player. A little bit undersized for a receiver, but honestly, he fits in great with that slot position there. Could potentially be a good punt returner, kick returner. Did a lot of different things for Texas. Obviously spent a little bit of time in Houston before transferring to Texas. I would have loved to have seen a full career, what he could have done with Texas, but in his short time there with them, just under 1,000 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. He was like explosive across the field. And it's going to be fascinating to see what he's able to do with the Rams, where obviously they brought in Devontae Adams. They got Puka Nacua there. But when you got a guy like Matthew Stafford that's slinging the ball around, Golden is going to be golden.
Follow that, KT.
All right. Well, Nick just mentioned it, right? Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Matthew Golden in a Sean McVay offense. That is an embarrassment of riches right there. 4.29. Guy ran 4.29 at the combine. That is an absurd time. And so you're going, who are you going to double? Right? I mean, who are you going to, if he plays in the slot, who are you going to cover him with? Show me a slot corner that can cover 4.29. So I don't know. That just feels dangerous in LA.
Greatest show on turf. Electric Boogaloo Part 2. I think that's exactly what we're looking at here with Matthew Golden. Thanks for Mark Burns and the gang at Rams Up for making that pick. All right, it's time for number 27. It's the Baltimore Ravens. Could we skip this? No, we've got to be objective. We can't. Thanks to Brandon Holthouse and the gang at the Ka podcast on the Fans First Sports Network. Very fine affiliate here for FFSN. They make a Baltimore Ravens pick, and this is a guy at number 27 that they always pick a guy this late that just ends up being a grinder and a dude, and I love Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. I hate this pick, KT, because it is so good.
His name is Gray Zabel, and he's an offensive lineman from North Dakota State. Right? What do you think this guy's like? You know, I mean, I think this guy came out of the womb like like a pushing stuff around. I mean, he is a mauler. He
was 3 weeks early.
Yeah, physical. He's a physical dude who fits obviously what Baltimore wants to be able to do in that offense. Derrick Henry rushed for 1,900 yards last year behind a mediocre offensive line. They weren't great up front last year. So if the Ravens can rebuild the offensive line like we're used to seeing in Baltimore, that's scary.
Hogan, like I was saying, this is just a typical Baltimore Ravens, Eric DeCosta, John Harbaugh pick. I tell you what, I fear this. I think this is a guy like Marshall Yanda that could be there for 10, 15 years.
Absolutely. And KT brought it up where I was thinking of Joe Alt from last year, where he's just born and bred to play football. Like, this is the kind of guy that you think of. The biggest thing that I'm curious about is where he coming from North Dakota State. Again, it's always that question mark where you're not playing against the top tier colleges. Is it going to translate in the pros? But at the same time, the size and just massiveness of this guy, he's going to be fine, especially playing with a team like Baltimore.
All right, Bleachers to Speakers, our Detroit Lions affiliate is on the clock here. The Lions, well, they need defense after what happened last year with all of those injuries, and they do it here with James Pierce Jr. Hogan.
Yeah, this is a guy coming out of Tennessee that, if he can pair up well with Aiden Hutchinson, they could be two just great bookends on the defensive line there, rushing after quarterbacks in the NFC North there. Obviously, James is blazing fast. He ran a 4.47 for a defensive end, which is incredible considering he's 6'5", 245 pounds. And again, SEC kid coming out of a great division there, going against tough competition. Tennessee, obviously not one of the most dominant teams in the SEC there, but James Pierce is not a slouch by any means. And if Detroit can utilize him the way that they can use Aiden Hutchinson and other defensive pieces that they put in there, obviously they failed when they traded last year after the Hutchinson injury. But if this kid can come in and contribute right away to get some of that pressure off of Aiden Hutchinson, oh, watch out for Detroit. They're going to be even scarier.
KT, could James go ahead and contribute right away? That's the question.
Yeah, he might need to put on a little bit of weight if he's going to play at like a 9 technique and be able to anchor in against the run. But I don't know if they necessarily need him to be that right away. You probably need him to be a situational pass rusher early on, take a little bit of pressure off of Aiden Hutchinson. And he might be some Aiden Hutchinson insurance too. Just to, you never know, man, how a guy's going to return after an injury. Like that was a pretty catastrophic injury. So what if Aiden Hutchinson doesn't turn out to be Aiden Hutchinson anymore? That's got to be a legitimate concern as well. So I think I don't think he's a star right away, but I think he's a guy that the longer he stays in the league, the better he gets.
And playing for Dan Campbell, you're going to be tough. That's a tight end who brings the boom. I tell you what, I like this Detroit Lions team rebounding after that debacle against the Washington Commanders in the divisional round. So we'll see what the Lions do going forward. All right, we are moving right along. Speaking of those Washington Commanders, they are on the clock next. They went all the way to the NFC Championship game where they met up with division rival Philadelphia, and that was not the best time for this team, but this team is up and coming. Can they keep it going? Well, Washington Football Weekly makes this pick for the Commanders, and it's Michael Williams out of Georgia, KT.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fascinating guy because you can play him anywhere, right? He put his hand down, stand him up, physical, 6'5", 260 pounds. So he's a big dude and he's long, really long. He's a Georgia guy. So you're coming from pedigree program. And with Washington's offense and their ability to score points, as long as they get a little bit more functional on defense, then they're going to have a chance in every ball game. So I think that this is a pick that fits a need and that this is a guy because of his measurables who has tremendous potential.
Will Kramer making this pick for Washington Football Weekly on the Fans First Sports Network. Hogan, I like this. He's an edge. He's got dog in him. He's from Georgia.
Right. And he's obviously not going to, make the headlines that Walker did, obviously taken earlier in the first round here, but he's still a guy that you have to fear and, respect at the same time because he played for Georgia. He won a national championship or multiple. And, he's going to make an immediate difference for that Washington team where Dan Quinn is a phenomenal DC head coach, all that. He's going to fit right in and be great.
I love this pick. That's great. Let's keep it going. We are up next. We are going to go with that team that circles the wagons like nobody else. It is the Buffalo Bills. Silas Whittle making this pick from Coast to Coast Bills. Let's see who it is. All right, the Bills need some help on defense, and they go with their secondary. Trey Amos, not to be mistaken with Tori Amos, singer from the 90s. From Ole Miss, it's Trey Amos. I like this pick. You've got to see this guy in the division, Hogan.
Right. And Trey is another interesting one who had a strange career path throughout his college career where he went to Alabama, originally to Louisiana, but then went to Alabama, didn't work out there. He went to Ole Miss, became a starter, and played well for them for the 1 year that he was there. Only 6'1", under 200 pounds, but at the same time, he's the type of guy that if Buffalo can utilize him correctly in their secondary, which for the last 5 or 6 seasons that Buffalo's been on this tear that they've been on since Brady and the Patriots have fallen off the way they have, they've had good secondaries every time that Buffalo's played in their seasons here. So if he can slide in and might not be a starter day one, but if he can learn the system and get in there with Sean McDermott and those guys and figure things out and play well, I could see this being a decent pick for Buffalo.
KT, they've got Buffalo wings. They're famous. Could Amos be famous in Buffalo?
Okay. I see what you did there.
Cookie.
All right. What is the number one concern? And let's not even call it a concern. What is the obsession of the Buffalo Bills right now? What is it, Bryan? You know what it is.
Well, getting to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl.
And who do they got to beat?
They've got to beat a team that knows how to sling the pig, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, they can't get by Kansas City. They got to beat Kansas City. I don't even care if they're not going to play Kansas City next year. You have to prepare as though you're going to play Kansas City again somewhere in the playoffs. And if you can't get over that hump, then forget it, man. So I think this is an eye towards that. You're going to get better in the secondary, but at the same time, I think if you're Buffalo, this has got to be a defensive heavy draft with your eyes on finally getting over that Kansas City hump.
All right. What will Kansas City do to keep the Bills from getting over that hump? They are next at number 31, and the pick is in. The Kansas City Chiefs. Steve Serna from Foolish Media Club makes this pick from the University of Tennessee. Another volunteer, Kelvin Banks Jr.
Whoa,
is off the board.
Texas, not Tennessee.
Oh, I gotta.
Whoa.
Long
whoa.
UT.
Whoa.
What's the real UT? Is this our UT debate right now?
Come on.
All right. Hey, you guys are reading the same board that I am. It's a typo. Whoever typed it in, that was a mistake. So I'm not
sure. What are you, Ron Burgundy? You're just going to read the cue card no matter what we put on it?
what do I know? You guys are the experts. I'm just the guy here that I am Ron Burgundy.
Well, hey, I corrected you. It's a Texas guy. As much as I don't want to see him go to the Chiefs, it's a Texas guy.
But KT, I won't tell you guys what to do like San Diego.
It's true that. All right. Yeah. So Kelvin Banks, he reminds me of Christian Darrisaw, the really good offensive tackle with the Vikings. He's got similar measurables at 6'5" and long. Darrisaw's a little bit heavier, but he's athletic. You think about Texas's offense, wide open, man, perimeter. They use all 53 yards of the width of the field, and they ask those tackles to get out and block perimeter screens and play out in space. And that's a perfect candidate for a Kansas City Andy Reid offense.
Yeah, that's Hogan. Are you still steamed at me, or do you want to tell us more about?
I'm not
Mr.
steamed
Banks?
at you. It's all good. I just, like I said, it upsets me that I don't want to see Kansas City get another Texas guy, because we all saw what they did with Xavier Worthy last year, and he was great from the get-go, teaming up with Mahomes there. But Banks, like KT talked about, is a guy that for a while there I wanted my Patriots to grab him instead of Will Campbell. But Banks is an interesting case where he got a little dinged up his senior year. He won the Outland Trophy Award still for best lineman in college, but was it deserved? I'm not 100% sure, because he like I said, the injuries started creeping up towards the end. But if he can slide in at Kansas City and be that left tackle that Mahomes needs, they got a steal at 31.
All right, we are saving the most compelling for last. And why is this the most compelling? Well, they almost got in a fight making this pick. So I'm actually going to go ahead and go to our Slack channel. And we had a few people making this pick. And the guy who tried to run it up was our very own, you know him, you love him, Aiden Reed from Broad Street LinkedIn. He made the pick right away. He went with Donovan Ezeriaku, defensive end from Boston College. And he wrote, as long as that's cool, with Shane Half from Eagles Pinball. And then next thing you know, Shane Half comes in and said, I would be very unhappy if that was their pick on draft night. Laughing emoji. Then James Turner, also from our other Philadelphia Eagles network. We have 3 great Philadelphia networks here. James Turner comes in and says, we're not picking Walter Nolan? And Shane Half says, Nolan would be my BPA off of that board. So then the communication stopped. So on the list, and I just learned in the last pick that you cannot trust the list. So I am going to go ahead and say, with the 32nd pick, because it was 2-1, the Philadelphia Eagles select Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, Ole Miss, to add to that line. Wow, Hogan.
Well, you threw me for a loop. I was getting ready to talk about Donovan from BC, but if I got to talk about Walter, that's okay too. So, no, either way, I mean, the Eagles needed to fill some voids that left in free agency, right? Whether it was on their defensive line, whether it's their offensive line, they've got to reestablish themselves as the front runner of the NFC East there. And clearly they are the champs until knocked off otherwise. But Walter Nolan is definitely a decent pick for them. Coming out of Ole Miss, 6'4", just under 300 pounds, a little bit on the lighter side there. But at the same time, defensive tackle filling in for where Milton Williams is leaving for my Patriots there, obviously, and they've lost some other key pieces, but it's just they need to replenish. And if there's a team that can replenish like the Eagles, I have yet to see at this point. They just get steal after steal. Pairing him there with Jalen Carter is going to be absolutely fascinating to see. So, yeah, hey, hats off to the Eagles. I think they get a win-win situation here, whether they go with Donovan or Walter, and I think they made a right choice either way.
KT, the rich get richer. We've got a lot of Philadelphia friends, and I got to tell you, this is a guy that you throw in on that line, and man, they're monsters again.
Yeah, they're two different players, though, because Ezeraku's like 6'2", 245, 248. And more of a speed guy, like an outside linebacker, Nolan Smith type. And Nolan is a big physical dude. He's almost 300 pounds, and he's more of your prototypical 3 tech. So it really depends kind of what you're looking for. I got to tell a quick story about Ezeraku. He's another South Jersey guy. I got to shout out to South Jersey, man. We're representing in this draft. I coached against him as well. He was at Williamstown High School. I just got to tell you about this game real quick. 2020 season. It's the COVID year, where every week your game was like, it was up in the air as to whether it was going to happen until the very last minute. You never knew if like a kid tests positive for COVID, the whole program shuts down. So we're playing them in the final game of the year. And at halftime, Donovan Ezeraku is their defensive end, big, tall, skinny kid at the time. And we knew he was a D1 kid. He was going to BC. But we were like, man, he's going to have to put on weight. Well, he sure as heck has put on weight. He's now 250 pounds. But that game at halftime was called by the referees, because a kid on the Williamstown team went home sick earlier in the day and went to the doctor and tested positive for COVID, and they couldn't get in touch with anybody from Williamstown's program. So they literally had to drive the note down to Ocean City, which is an hour away, and it was delivered to the referees on the field at halftime, and they ended the game.
Oh, man.
So that is my firsthand experience with Donovan, who's a hell of a football player, but I'm sure he'll never forget that COVID game.
Well, I tell you what, since this is the final pick of the draft and they are the Super Bowl champs, let's just go ahead and make it co-picks, because no one else is picking. So we're going to give them co-picks. You can go either way. You're getting a great player, right, KT?
As long as you don't give them both those guys, right?
Yeah.
Let's clarify. They don't get them both.
This is just for us right now. This is an either or. We're going to go with the FFSN Pick'em. There you go.
Perfect.
I think that's the safest way to go. And Aiden Reed, who is still celebrating from Kevin, if you get a chance, go back Super Bowl night, listen to the Fans First football show with a very elated and possibly inebriated Aiden Reed calling in. It is probably one of my favorite shows of all time.
Bryan, I live in Eagles country. That's every person I know. Every person I know is an inebriated Eagles fan.
There you go. But this was extra entertaining. So Hogan, Jess, and I, we couldn't stop laughing that night. It was great. Kept on going, Bryan, we did it, Bryan. We did it. In fact, that's going to be a new soundbite. Hey, we did it. The three of us did it. We got through the draft, 32 picks in 90 minutes. And I tell you what, it was a great show. I learned a lot from KT. I learned a lot from Nick. And I tell you what, I learned that I cannot do shows without these two guys. Fantastic job, gentlemen.
Yeah, it was fun, man. Thanks, you guys.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. we're going to have amazing draft coverage here on the Fans First Sports Network. So the draft is 4 days away. Thursday night cannot come around soon enough. We are going to have so much coverage. Make sure you check out your favorite team first, but check out the FFSN affiliate as well, and check out everything that you need. Jump around. Make sure that you download wherever you download your favorite podcast. Go to the Fans First Sports Network. We should be your draft day headquarters, and we will be. So check us out. All of us here, we really appreciate you. We're going to do this, Kevin. We're going to do this a little bit different. We're going to check out the way we do on the Fans First Football Show, and it's 2 words, and it's simple. For all of us here at FFSN, we've got one last thing to say, and it's go football. Kevin, give me a go football.
Go football. Let's go.